warm welcome. We really have made it this far to our 20th, our 20th edition of Cocktails and Conversation. If only you knew how much water had flown under the bridge since March. Well, we have promised you dynamic conversation. What we have delivered you are world-renowned jockeys like Umberto Rispoli, Javier Castellano, Frankie Dettori, and Mike Smith. Trainers like Peter Eurton, Simon Callahan, Tom Amos, Bob Baffert, Chad Brown, Mark Cassie, Graham Motion, Doug O'Neill, Todd Pletcher, Dale Romans, and Wesley Ward. All-star sports star Eric Johnson, television actress Bo Derek, owners Jeff Bloom, Sol Cumin, Jack and Laurie Wolf, the NBC sports team. Breeders' Cup, through this show, through your help, has raised thousands of dollars for charities across the nation, equestrian charities, and those in support of the COVID-19 Relief Fund. Britney Eurton, good afternoon, good evening to everyone's favorite transatlantic booze and schmooze edition 20 season finale, if you hadn't guessed.
Wow. I mean, what an intro there. Just to think that we started this months ago as a way, not for just, you and I to have something to do, but for those at home to find a reprieve.
It kind of was.
I mean, kind of, but to have some fun, and to get people outside of their normal atmosphere and relax, to find out things that we didn't necessarily know about them and have some fun. And how about the fact that we've learned so much about cocktail making and the true art that it is? What a list of guests. Right on cue, Mark Tubridy.
Guys, how are you? So good
Mark,
to see you.
We're 20 weeks. Can you believe this? Like, would you have thought that down the road when we started this show, we would have had that lineup and you would have made how many cocktails?
40 cocktails at this point. And, I still can't believe it, because when I go to think of the cocktails that we're going to do each week, it's becoming more and more difficult to find new ones. But you know what? We pull something out of our hats. We make it work. So
if there's one thing you've given us through this 20-week period, it is nuance, and plenty of it, Mark. And we've loved you for it. You're looking well. I've got to say, you're looking younger than you did 20 weeks ago. I don't know how this.
It must be the show. I think you guys are keeping me social, keeping me young. But I appreciate it, Nick. You too. I think both of you guys. Now, Nick, are you on the road or are you back at home today?
I'm back at home.
Yeah,
I just thought you teased me about being in the garage for the last 18 weeks. So I thought I'd change up the set. Britney has an exotic location every week. Unfortunately, here in the UK, I can't provide the palms and the brilliant sunshine in late August. It's particularly filthy now. The heat wave's well and truly over. But I can move at least into a different room. So There you go.
Well, I've been featuring the same plants since we started, but it's alive and well. So
I can't believe those plants are still alive. I managed to kill a snake plant, and I think that is the most difficult plant to kill.
Yeah. My wife keeps these alive.
Before we kick off and introduce, dare I say it, our greatest guest yet.
Legend.
And he really is a legend. Just to say hi to some of you who've been with us pretty well every week and have already been in touch. Robert Segura, MJ Peters, Jennifer Pinkerton-Cook, Julie Ingle, Wayne Montgomery, Jeff Hall, Patrick Deweys, Jamie Lester Guy, Dorian Dickinson, of course, Trisha Hill. So to all of you for supporting us all this time, thanks so much. And Julie says, hello once again from Indiana. At the moment, my favorite state.
Oh, yes. It took me a minute. But do tell viewers why Indiana is now your favorite state. Come on, we can pump you up a little bit and what you're doing out of Indiana Grand.
I wish to say no more than the Indiana Grand Handicapping Challenge in aid of the Grayson Jockey Club Research Foundation. That's all I'm going to say. You can just log on and find out. Enough blowing anyone's trumpet. We need to blow the trumpet of someone whose trumpet deserves to be blown, because he is the final guest of the series. And Britney, quite simply, he is, as you say, a legend. Some consider him the greatest of all time. He is certainly one of the greatest thoroughbred jockeys of all time. He's won over 7,000 races through his career. He became the first Puerto Rican jockey to win all 3 Triple Crown races. And he, having grown up around horses, made an incredible impact in the United States through the 1960s, the 70s, the 80s, and into the 90s as well. He was known as the King of Saratoga, and when his riding days were over, his legacy lived on through the exploits of John Velasquez, who he looked after for so long, and now again through those of Manny Franco, who, of course, has a chance of emulating him by winning all 3 legs of the Triple Crown. There he is, as if he needed my introduction, Angel Cordero. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to you to Cocktails and Conversation, Angel.
Thank you
Angel,
very much.
such an honor to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Angel.
What a way to have a
How are
season
you guys?
finale.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
And tell us, Angel, how is life for you at the moment? How's it been the last few months?
Well, it's been slow because they don't allow people at the races. So been watching the races on the TV, and don't get to see all my friends there, for years and years. But it's good that we're acting, that we are running, and we're working.
And you must be very proud of your man Manny Franco at the moment and everything that he's achieving.
I am very proud of him, and I'm rooting for him. He's a hardworking kid. He's very young, and he's very into the sport. And this is his opportunity to brag, because every jockey needs a good horse. And, he got one, and I hope that he could keep him, and I hope that things work out good for him.
He got one of the best, and you're talking of Tiz the Law. I mean, we are lucky to have you on our final episode. I want to make sure that all of our fans can see you. Angel, can you move a touch more into the middle of your screen so we can see it? Other direction.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. We got to see that fancy shirt too. I didn't know you were into.
I need to sit on pillows. I need to sit on a pillow so I can come out. See?
Perfect.
Me too.
Okay.
Angel. Me too.
All right.
I mean, where do we begin? I mean, I was looking at your stats earlier, Angel. 7,057 victories in your riding career. That is for 9th all time. When you think of that number and how it stacked up against some greats that you rode against, I mean, what do you think of? I mean, that's an incredible number, a credible achievement.
Well, it was something that I never thought that it would happen. I always thought about become a jockey and become a good rider, but I never thought I was going to have so much success. Something that made me proud of the hard work that I had accomplished that much. But I'm still on the shock that I made it that far.
And Angel, what I wanted to know is, I mean, when you first came to the States, you weren't an overnight sensation. Things didn't happen for you right away. What was it that made you come back? What inspired you to come back and say, I'm going to give this another go. I want to get right up there to the top.
Well, my first 3 or 4 years here in the United States, it wasn't too good. I could not do no good riding, and I went back home 4 times. The last time I was going home, I was staying with a friend of mine that helped me a lot, Eddie Belmonte, and he was a rider too. And I was packing my bag, and he said, "Where you going?" And I'm going home. He said, "Again?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not doing any good here. I just cannot stand it." So he said to me, you better be good to go because New York is for good riders. And that what made me stay. Because that was my dream, to become a good rider. So when he said that, he touched a button on me, I said, well, if I want to be good, I'm going to have to stay in the United States. And that's how I decided to. I came 4 times to Saratoga.
What do you think the biggest challenge for you? 1960 you came. Yeah. What do you think was the biggest challenge for you in those early years?
It was at that time, there was very racist people here, I wasn't liked, but people didn't like me that much, to be honest with you. And I was having a hard time to get what I wanted to get. I can't speak English. I didn't know my way around. I can't communicate with people. And so it was very hard. The language was the worst, the big handicap. I'm being from Puerto Rico. The weather didn't bother me. I loved it. I loved it, the cold weather. For some reason, even so that my country is always hot, I love cold weather.
You look at the colony now, and it's quite diverse. It's something we've been trying to highlight a lot more. You see riders from all over the world making a name for themselves here in America. What gave you the motivation to keep working hard, despite the fact there were so many here that were unwilling to accept you as a rider?
Well, it was always on my mind to become good, and You know, I thought that to be good, you had to go through a lot of handicap, a lot of obstacles. You know, so the harder it got for me to leave, the sleep on floor and don't eating, the more anxious I was to do good, so I can have what I want to. You know, and the only Spanish rider that was doing good here was Icasa and Baeza, but they came in on a contract with somebody, so they have a stable behind. It was hard. The only my lucky was that most of the good riders they was already older and they was on their way out maybe, and that helped me a lot. It's not like if I would have come on this time now with all these good riders they are in the 20s, I would probably have a harder time. These kids are all good. You got like 8 or 7 of them, they all in the 20, 23, 24, 26. When you're on that age, you think you could touch the sky with your hands. So, when you're competing with all of them with so much ability that they have and so much knowledge they have acquired, through years, it's difficult.
But Angel, because of the start that you had, and you said that people weren't particularly welcoming to you, and there was a significant degree of racism involved in that. How important has it been for you since you stopped riding to mentor younger jockeys coming through, to mentor international jockeys coming to America for the first time? Is that something that's given you particular pleasure?
But it is something that new that you accomplished. I never thought that I could transmit my thinking to another person that do as good as I did. And most of the guys that I have helped, they have been doing good in life, through life being a jockey. Make you feel like a proud father, they like you kids. You with them all the time and you spend a lot of time with them. And when they win, you feel like you did it too. And most of them, when I'm watching the races, I can read it from here. I know what they're gonna do in every moment. Because it's just the way they are programmed. It's easy for me to not to look and I say, man, he's gonna go outside. He's gonna take back. He's gonna sit there. It's easy for me to see that. But I feel very proud to know that I contribute with some of them success.
You can teach them. You can teach them a bit about riding. You can teach them a bit about tactics. You can teach them a bit about track craft. Can you teach them a bit of your, or imbue in them a bit of your mental strength as well? Do you think?
That is difficult. All of them have a different way of thinking. They like different things. It's very hard for me to transmit everything that I got to their mind. But I'll put the point on it. What I say to them: you want to be the best, you got to try to be the best. You got to go to sleep early. You can't do no drinking, no drugs. You got to get up early. You got to work. Weather shouldn't be a problem. You're gonna have good days and bad days. And when you put that on your head, it's just like a circle. You get good part of the month that you do real good, and then you get slow. Then sometimes you get hurt and you come back. And the older you get, the more you learn. You learn, but your body started deteriorating because you get a lot of accident and your age started slowing you down.
You said you came here to be the best, and that's what motivated you to stay. At what point in time did you think, okay, I can make it here? I can not only make it here, but I can be one of the best in the riding colony. Was there a point in time, whether it be at Saratoga, which we were the king of, that you said, I've got this?
Well, I got very lucky in Saratoga because I was unlucky at the beginning. I came to Saratoga in 62. I only lasted like 3 days. Then in 63, I went back home again. 64. 65, I rode my first horse. 66, I rode 2 horses. And in 1967, I happened to be leading rider, which shocked me because I wasn't riding for another big stable. I was riding for all the little stables with claiming horses. And that was a shock to me that I became leading rider. And then I used to tell my friend, one day I'm going to rent a house with a pool and everything. He said, you don't even swim. I said, yeah, but I like to see the water. I like to see people swimming. So I didn't win any title anymore until 1974. And then from there on, I got very lucky. I kept winning and winning. And I didn't really pay much attention until I went by like eight titles. And people started recognizing, oh, he win 8 years on a row. So then I started being like defending my title every year, and to me, it was an inspiration coming into Saratoga. It was like something that rejuvenated me when I got here. You know, I had to work harder, but I know I will win if I try hard. I think the harder you try, the better you're gonna do in life. That's what is important. You have to like what you do and learn them and put every effort to it, because everybody's gonna try to be number one. It's only one number one.
Angel, so many jockeys, when asked who they've looked up to that came before them, they say you. When you came over, did you have a mentor? Did you have jockeys that you looked up to, or those that you rode against that you felt made you better?
Well, you know what? When I come from a family of riding, both of my grandfather was jockeys and trainers from mother's side and father's side. And I grew up with the horses. I know in my heart I wanted to be a jockey, but my mother didn't want me to be a jockey. So I went all the way to I graduated high school and I did like 6 months in college, and I said I can't do it anymore. I want to ride. So I always look to my family, to my friends. I have a couple of friends and an uncle that was real good, and another friend that really teach me a lot, plus my father. But my idol was Eddie Caro. That's what I used to tell my father. I want to be like Eddie Caro. I need you to laugh at me. And so they start buying me pictures, and I got a couple of little pieces of film of him. And when I came to United States the first time, he was almost retiring. And it was amazing to see him riding the way he used to ride in the 40s and in the 50s. They didn't even wear goggles at the time. At the time he turned around in the 60s, early 60s, he started looking like one of us. And I said, man, that guy's got to be good. I said, because I'm trying to learn from him. But who did he learn from?
Mm-hmm.
See, he was nobody to learn, you know, I mean. So I really concentrate on watching him ride and, you know, try to read about him, and finally met him one time. I caught classes. I came to the track and I was behind him, and they kept pushing me out, and I kept jumping the fence, going back again. I wanted the goggles. He gave me a pair of goggles that I used to wear going to school until I probably go, when I finally finished school. I had to put the goggles and go walking in the street, hitting myself like a horse, telling everybody, I'm the Black Eddie Caro. I'm going to be, everybody laughed at me. But, you know, things work. You dream big, and it comes. You have to dream big.
Oh yeah, and you rode with some greats as well when you were you're dominating at Saratoga. Who were your greatest friends? Who were your greatest rivals? And were they sometimes one and the same thing?
Well, my toughest rival was George Velasquez and Lafitte Pincay. They was young and they was very talented, and we used to go out every night together, and we was the best of friends until the doors of the gate opened. That he don't know me, I don't know them, and we used to ride more for pride. Like we could go at night and make fun out of, man, I got you in the third race, I got you breathing hard, and I got you in there. And they say, what about in the fourth? I came back and got you by, you know. So it was more than bragging about the three of us, because we all knew. I know they was good, and I figure they probably know I'm good because I'm competing with them. And then Shoemaker, once in a while, when he came to New York, he was like, one day I asked him for a pair of boots for my son. He said, how old are you, son? I said, 3 years old. And everybody laughed because he had a tiny little foot, you know. But I didn't mean it like that way. I was just trying to be friendly, you know. And, you know, when I rode, but then I rode a lot of good riders, you know. You got Bailey and Macaron and Chris Hanley and De La House and Lafitte, Shoemaker, Georgie. And I mean, I make a list of all the riders that I rode per day and all them guys that I rode with in Sandy Hawley. And I looked at them, they all Hall of Famers. So, you know, I was on a tough colony of riders because they all Hall of Famers. And that's what's probably going to happen to most of these kids now. Pretty soon they're going to become Hall of Famers, and then they're going to look at each other, you know, and say, well, I rode with some good riders, you know.
Hey, Angel, I'm intrigued to know, and it might be an unfair question, but if you came down to the furlong pole upsides one of those that you've just mentioned, who did you least want to be upsides you in a finish?
You know, because we used to kid around a lot, and I always spent like 6 months of the year riding with Lafitte, but I spent most of the year riding with Georgie. So it was like he beat me, I beat him, he beat me. When Lafitte came, I always told him, I said, you know, I really feel good when I beat you. I said, I'm not trying to make fun. I just say, I'm beating one of the best. And that made me feel better. And he said to me too, because I used to raise my hand when I win, and show my emotion when I win. He was very quiet about it. So he said, me too, when I beat you, I like it. I said, I know you like it because I know I like it too. I said, but that's part of being human. When you compete with somebody that you think is better than you or as good as you got to do your best. And that was my best, competing with both of them.
You talking about your celebrations, I've been having to look back through a few of the tapes, and there are some good ones, but I think the 88 Breeders' Cup sprint when you won on Gulch, that was a solid celebration after the line there. That was a special win for you.
He was. The owner of Gulch is still one of my best friends, Peter Brand. I started getting on Gulch before he ever run. I rode him like 3 or 4 times when he won. And then when I rode him on the Breeders' Cup, he got beat, and the trainer got upset and took me off from him. And then the trainer and Peter split away, and he went to Wayne Lucas. And I got to ride him one because he was in California. I only got to ride him one time. So when I was going to ride him on the Breeders' Cup, it was a kind of discussion about the horse was syndicated, and they probably didn't want me on a horse. And when he told me, I don't think they think that you fit the horse. I said, I don't fit the horse. I said, I rode the horse since he was a baby. So Peter Brand was very nice to me. He said to me, the horse is mine until after the race, and I want you to ride the horse for me. So when that horse win, to me, it was like a big thing coming out of, I won for a guy that really stood behind me, plus Wayne that rode me on all these good horses all the time. And he was, to me, very touchy to with him. And when I went on Dancing Spree too, then 2 races, I was very Gulch. I had to work real hard because he was in between horses, and he got tight, and I couldn't hardly even breathe after the race for a while because I was like a fighter. I was all out riding him. And then when I went on Dancing Spree, because he was the 5th color, the 5th family, which I always dreamed about riding for them when I was a kid, and I wound up riding most of the good horses. So there was 2 touching moments, that I always gonna remember.
You have to celebrate those moments. You say you have to celebrate those moments.
Oh, you have to. And you see the football player when they score and they throw the ball, and the fighter when they knock the other guy down. It's something that comes from you inside. I don't think they was ready for that. I've looked at the old tapes of Derby. I don't think anybody ever did like that with their hands after the Derby. I think I was one of the first ones. Because it's something that you dream since a kid, to win the Kentucky Derby. I didn't dream anything else. I said, please let me win one. First of all, I was praying to get to ride on one. I always said to God, let me ride on one. And then after I rode a couple, I said, now let me win one. It's like when I went on Dancing Spree, he came flying from the back, and he was good feeling was in front, and he come and got it. And to me, it was like, man, I wanted it to run faster than him the last part. So when he went by the wire, man, he was on a favor. He was one of the little long shot in the race. So to me, that was a big deal. That I won for a stable that is so famous, It was one of the first stables that I ever knew about in the United States. And, I wound up winning a kind of race like that. To me, that was very good.
You were known as one of the most charismatic jockeys in the room, and you can see why with those celebrations too. But one jockey now that might be known as one of the most charismatic, Frankie Dettori, stole something from you and made it his own. The flying dismount. Where did that come from? Why did you want to do it?
That's funny because I was a Cuban guy named Avelino Gomez that was very high, and in this country his name was real high. And I watched him dismount one time on a horse, and I said, man, I'm going to do that. And I started to do it, and people started liking it. So I kept doing it and doing it, and now I see Frankie doing it. And it's fun to watch, that they could do that. I was always dreaming he was 1/4 horse jockey that used to flip up in the air and do a flip and land it, but I could never do that. I hit the ground before I flipped.
And I always knew that you were Frankie Dettori's hero. I knew that, but I didn't realize quite the extent of your influence on him. And I sent him a message this evening saying Angel is on the show, and Frankie was on this show a few weeks ago, and he rang me straight away and he said he was 19 years old. I'm sure you remember this. Luca Cumani, who you'd ridden for, brought him to your house in New York, and you put him on your mechanical horse and changed his riding style that night, that evening, after dinner, in front of everybody.
Yeah, we've been good friends for a long time. And I used to tell him, I said, you want to ride like an American rider, you have to change your style. I said, it's all to practicing. And he's probably one of the people that ride in Europe that look the best on a horse. He's smart, he's strong, and he looks great on a horse. He got great timing. He got everything that you need, all the tools to be a good rider.
And he
Very
said,
charismatic. People like him.
Yeah, and he said that of all the people he modeled himself on, you. You know, the way you'd get really low down to the horse and grab a hold of the horse's head and be really aerodynamic and athletic. And he said it's your style that he completely modeled himself on, with just the tip of the toe in the stirrup iron.
Yep. Yes, but he's one of the greatest I ever see too. I mean, I see a lot of good riders in my life and on film and everything. He's one. I got him on my first turn. He's one. He's one of the best. I like him. He's very charismatic. And whenever he see me, he pick me up and he kiss me. And I had this girlfriend one time that was very jealous. And I came into, I think it was a pre-party for Breeders' Cup. And he saw me. He was talking to some people, and he came running and picked me up and gave me a kiss and everything. And she looked at me and said, "One of you guys are gay?" I said, "No, man." I said, I mean, it's just happy to see him. She said, "Well, I never see two guys hugging each other." And, I said, "Man," I said, "but then you never been out of New York, because that happen everywhere. You see somebody that you like and, you hug them and everything." But I'm always in touch with him. I talk to him a lot. He's good rider and a good person.
How does that affect you? You call him one of the greatest jockeys of all time, and he's saying he learned everything from you.
Well, I'm proud to hear that, but he is one of the best riders I ever saw. I mean, he's one of them. He's very talented. He got all the tools that you need. Like I said before, he's gutsy. He's got the hands. He got the mind. He got everything that you need to become a real good jockey. To me, a horse is 90% of the outcome. The other 10% split between training, the trainer, lucky of the race, and the decision that you're going to make on it. But when I watch the races, I always see it. Out of the 9 races they run, probably 7 of them horses would have won with 10 or 9 of them riders. They was in the jockey's room. They was the best. But 2 of them won because the jockey made the right decision and the right move. And there are other races that make you feel proud. Because I rode Seattle Slew, the best horse I ever rode, and I rode a Slew of Gun. I rode Guaya, a lot of champions. But they was going to win with anybody that rode him. When I won on the claiming races, a horse by a nose, when he was 25-1 and you get there, that's what the one that make you feel proud, because you accomplished something that it was difficult to do.
A legend of the game, and he's humble. We can't get into Seattle Slew yet.
No, I don't want to get into Seattle Slew just yet. But if we don't mention this particular race just quickly, because if you just enjoy watching horse racing and horses win easily, can we just have a little look at the finish of the 84 Whitney and watch Angel completely motionless on Slew of Gold?
Slew of Gold.
Oh, this is absolute magic. I'm giving the producers heart failure because I'm going all over the shop here. But
the rundown.
Angel mentioned it, so I feel like we need to see this. Angel, this is sublime. Just talk to me about this.
He was the best older horse at the time, and Track Battle was the best 3-year-old at the time. And the race came out with only 3 horses, and one of them they pleased him to come because he didn't have no chance. So he was the best 3-year-old on the ground and the best older horse. But that particular day, he would have taken probably his father to beat him. He was the best. That was the best I ever felt on. I felt that underneath of me. And that was the best race he ever won. He was so easy. He just galloped next to the other horse all the way around. And he was like working out in the morning, for a race like that. To me, that was the easiest race that I ever won on a horse. And he beat a good horse. But, I sat next to him all the way around, and I knew being my horse so good. And the other one, a 3-year-old, he was just galloping next to him, you know, and I could believe it that he was so good that particular day. And I was
He's
supposed to let him
dragging.
gallop out after the wire. After the wire, I was supposed to let him gallop out a little, and I forgot. And then when I got to the first 10, I remember, and I got low on it, and I chirped at him and tapped him on the shoulder, and he caught like he just broke out of the gate again. That day he was very good. He was always grouchy, and he had a lot of problems, so he was never happy doing it. But that particular day he was.
Can I ask one more question before we go to our?
Of course, you could anything you want.
Well, no, you're sticking around, Angel. We're not letting you go anywhere. But you talk about him being grouchy. Like, how much did you enjoy getting to know the horse and their personality, and did that affect, how you rode them?
Well, it's like knowing a person. When I know them, you can make a horse do what you want in 5 minutes or 10 minutes that you get on it. You never say, oh, you're going to get that in 10 minutes. You want him to do what you want. But it's the same with a person. You meet somebody and you just can make that person do what you want in 10 minutes. So you get to know their characteristic, and then you bargain with them, and then you try to please them. They're not there to please us. We're there to please them. So I compare horses with ladies. You have to please them. You got to make them happy. Yeah, that's what you got to do with the horse. Make them happy.
Angel knows.
We'll drink to that, Mark Tubridy. How are you, sir?
Doing very well, guys. Very well. Angel, those stories are absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited we have you for the whole episode tonight. I'm sure Britney and Nick are so excited to keep asking these amazing questions. Basically, my role in this show is just to make cocktails. I don't know if you have a drink handy, Angel, but if not, maybe you can grab a cocktail now or a glass of wine.
I get a little coffee.
Perfect.
All right. That works. I had plenty of coffee before the show, too. So, guys, our first cocktail tonight, the apple martini, is by no means the most sophisticated cocktail that we've made on this show, clearly. And for a long time, I really wasn't a big fan of it. But, I kind of thought it was this 80s or 90s sort of fruity drink. But one of the clients at the 21 Club actually shared his recipe with me, and he kind of converted me. He changed my mind. Basically, in addition to the apple pucker and the vodka, which is traditional, he added fresh lemon juice and simple syrup. And for me, what that did was it really transported the drink or kind of changed it from this artificial tasting drink to a fun, fresh variation on the sour. And now this is kind of a funny story. I'm not the only convert to the Appletini team. The movie The Social Network, which of course was based on Facebook, there's this scene that happens with Mark Zuckerberg and the other owner of Facebook and one of the owners of Napster. And they're all sitting around a table and they order a few different rounds of apple martinis. Now, this was somewhat fictionalized, apparently, because Mark had never had an appletini until he went to the premiere of the movie, and they were serving that for the premiere. But he saw it in the movie. He said, that's a good idea. And this is what I've been told. Don't quote me on this, but they say that the apple martini is now the official drink of Facebook. So who knew? That wouldn't have been my first guess. But it is a fun drink. This is the best version that I know, so I'm excited to share it with you guys. What we are going to need is some fresh lemon juice. Mm-hmm. Simple syrup. I know I wish we had a counter for every time we use this throughout the course of this series. This is apple pucker. So this is that somewhat kind of artificially flavored apple stuff. You're not going to see me using stuff like this too often. This is a little bit of a throwback cocktail. But this stuff won't run you much. For a bottle, it's about $9 in your local liquor store. And of course, our Tito's handmade vodka. All right, guys. So as always, we're going to start with our least expensive ingredients first. We're going to begin with 3/4 ounce of fresh lemon juice. This is a shaken cocktail, so this is going to go into our cocktail shaker.
Oh, Nick, get ready.
Yeah, okay, I'll try and do it quick.
All right, we're giving you a heads up today.
Yes, it's struck me that of course there weren't all those cheap grade 1 races back when Angel was riding. You actually had to earn them. Unlike there weren't, the pattern was kind of smaller, and so these races, I think these races mean 10 of the races that I read out for some of our esteemed guests.
Absolutely. You can just read those in slow motion, so we'll get more of the weight of them.
Exactly.
Hey, you win a great one now, you win it then, you will take it.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, guys. So we did a 3/4 ounce of simple syrup to balance out that lemon juice. So again, anytime we have that acidity, we want to balance it out with the sweetness. So 3/4 ounce each. And now we're doing 1.5 ounces of that apple pucker. I know it looks sort of fluorescent green. It is going to lend a beautiful color to this cocktail when we're done. And now, of course, we need our good stuff, our Tito's handmade vodka, we're going to do the same amount, so 1.5 ounces. So what's cool here is if you think about this, we've got 1.5 ounces of our main spirit, the vodka, 1.5 ounces of the apple pucker, and then essentially 1.5 ounces of that sweet and sour mix that we're doing, which is the fresh lemon juice and the simple syrup. And that's really...
Is that to get you drunk?
You know, it'll sneak up on you, Angel, because you have just enough that fruitiness in there. It kind of tastes like, I don't know, like a Jolly Rancher, you know? So it's going to sneak up on you, absolutely. All right, guys, so I am going to add some ice. Nick, I would get ready with those stats pretty soon.
I'm with the stats here right now.
All right. Give me just a second.
Angel, this has become a tradition, reading off all the accolades of our guests while Mark shakes away.
It's the only workout that I've gotten throughout quarantine, so I'm actually grateful for it. All right, Nick, I'm ready.
All right, you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, so Angel Cordero, born November 8, 1942, major racing wins the Roma handicap 68, 74, 81, 84, Suburban handicap 69, 70, 74, 89, 87, Jonesboro Gulch up 72, 83, 84, the major straight 74, 80, 83, 87, 89, 91, Canadian was national 77, 58, 34, 89, Denmark 30, 84, Anthony 87, Washington DC International 88, Penrith National 89, Kentucky Derby 74, 76, 1985 was spent about the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies 88, Breeders' Cup Britain Solid, 31, 88 with Gulch and 89, the Dancing Spree in the fifth colours, and the Lexington Stakes of the trainer in 1993, US Texas Jockey 76, 82, 83, I win 68, Eclipse Awards 82, 83, 85, Big Sport Award 92, Mike Vanetti Memorial 92, US Hall of Fame 1988, and Nassau County Sports Hall of Fame 2001. There you go.
Well done.
Very good. Very good.
Nick, have you ever considered working at auctions?
Or becoming a professional Wikipedia reader for a career?
Yes. I think there's definitely a job opening for that.
Absolutely.
Few other talents, but I can do that. We've been blessed with some great guests.
Well, like Angel said, you have got to dream big. You dream big, listen to those achievements.
Yep.
Dream big, and then get big drunk.
There you go. I think that's a quote for the show.
Which of course you're fully entitled to do as and when like you win your first Kentucky Derby. I mean, you'd already won a ton of titles by the time you won your first Derby, but I'm guessing for every rider, it's that little missing piece of the jigsaw until it finally happens.
Yeah, that's the one that you're looking for, to win the Derby. That's your main goal for everything else. And if they give you the choice between winning the Breeders' Cup Classic, which is 6 or 5 million, or the Derby that is only like 1 or 2 million, you go for the Derby. The Derby to any jockey, or probably to trainers and owners, it's got to be the drink of their life. That's the most important race in the United States. And when you meet somebody that doesn't know anything about racing and they say, "What do you do for a living?" and I'm a jockey, right away they said, "Do you ever win the Derby?" So
what is it about the Derby that captures the imagination of everyone in it?
I don't know what it is, but when I first came to the United States, that was the race. My first Derby that I watched was when Lady Dancer got beat. He was the only race he got beat, and they used to show before the movie, they showed a little piece of the race. And that was the first Derby that I remember. And it's a race that everybody wants to. I don't know. It's like a tradition. If you don't win the Derby, you feel like you got empty pocket. It's like not winning the Travel in Saratoga, you know. You don't accomplish that. That's kind of tough.
Well, Nick, we've got to show off the cocktail before we continue on with Angel. This looks beautiful, Mark.
Thank you. You can see that color right off the bat from that sour apple pucker. Now, in the past, if we were short on fancy garnishes, we would do a maraschino cherry for this. But since we're making it a little fancy, you might as well go for a nice apple fan there. We're going to put that on top. So again, this is a slightly elevated version of the apple martini. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Don't be put off by the color. It tastes delicious.
It really does taste like a Jolly Rancher a little bit. I don't know if that's a selling point or not, but in the right time and place, it works.
Probably no more than one, but it looks better than some apple martinis I've seen that look like a head glass.
Absolutely.
continuing our theme of horse names that have popped up through conversation during this series, from whatever the first one was, muddled something or other.
Slap the mint, maybe.
Gentle Muddle.
Gentle Muddle.
Yeah, all that. Slap the mint. I thought get big drunk was quite a good one.
Yeah.
So that's the one for this episode.
We call him GBD for short, right?
There we go. Dorian's got it. Get big drunk.
Dream big and get big drunk. Okay, I'm gonna get to Seattle Flu because this race, and you probably know which one I'm talking about, Angel. I couldn't believe how it unfolded. Who was in the starting gate and just the race to the wire. The 1978 Jockey Club Gold Cup. You have 2 Triple Crown winners in the race, affirmed, and you're riding Seattle Slew. Can you just describe, what was going through your head in the beginning of the race? I know we have the replay to show it, and just being aboard that Triple Crown champion that was trying to prove himself the following year.
Well, that was one of the races that made me feel better. I mean, riding against a firm, it was like closer to win the Derby, because a firm was the best horse around, and I rode him a couple of times, and I never thought he was as good as he turned out to be. And he was Seattle Slew. I was a big fan of Seattle Slew. So when they hooked together, Seattle Slew was on the same horse that he was when he was younger horse. But I know he have enough talent and he knows, to beat a firm. And he did it twice. Then the last time, it was the race that I probably would love to ride again. I rode 41,000 horses, and that will be the only race that I would love to ride him back again.
Why is that?
You watch him just getting there. He got beaten out, but remember, he carried 128 or 129 pounds. He was going a mile and a half, and they got a rabbit for him, and we went the first quarter 22 and change, 45 and change. We went 3 quarters in 9 and change, going a mile and a half. We went a mile in 34 and change. That was extremely fast to go a mile and a half. And he hung in there tough, and he came back and he got beaten nose. And I know things didn't work out for first. He tried to go through the gate before the start. So he got all keyed up. And then going into the first, and somehow I lost my stirrup, and I bounced the saddle with my back, and he took off, and I could ride him. And then Steve Cotton horse, the saddle slept all the way to the neck. He could get his horse back. And the rabbit, they was driving on him, but he could keep up with them 2 horses, at that pace. So to me, he showed me like a fighter that go down and get up again and almost win the fight. That was him, and I felt bad. He would have been the only horse that won the Triple Crown as a 3-year-old and as an older horse. So I always dream on that race in my mind, and I wish they could go back and let me ride him back again one time, but it don't happen.
It was a remarkable effort, though. I mean, he showed so much heart coming down to the wire. You say that you would love to go back and do it over again. For you, because we always talk about this, you even hear it now from jockeys, that you don't always make the right decision. It happens. And you said that 90% of it is the horse. How often when you were riding, did you go back and think about, I could have done this differently, I should have done this differently? And how do you slough it off?
Well, that was the only race that ever bothered me, because the way it turned out to happen, the fast fashion cost him the race. But a lot of times you'll make bad decision in the race, and you'll mad at yourself when you pull up, and then you got to hear it from the trainer and from the public. But that part of being an athlete, it's like you have to make decision in a short time, and you cannot call in the telephone and tell them, hey, should I go now? Should I wait? So you have to make your decision when it happens. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they hold open for a little bit, and sometimes they don't open at all. Sometimes you guess that they're going to go out and you stay in, and then you look like a fool in behind horses checking and no place to go. And sometimes you say, well, I got enough horse, I could go around them. And then you swing wide, and somebody else swing wide too, and you end up in the middle of the track and get beaten also ahead. And that, they you in trouble, The decision that we make, you could plan on about the race before the race, but the decision that you're going to make, that got to happen. That is not planning. You're not planning for when you're going to move or how you're going to do it. Just happen. just think that you're the one running. If they put you on the wire and say you got to go all the way around running, I'm pretty sure that you don't take off fast because you're not going to finish. So you got to try the horse to do what you will do. You was running, and that is the difficult part.
I was going to ask about Saratoga specifically, Angel, because I don't think your record there is ever going to be bettered in many respects. 14 riding titles, 11 consecutive riding titles. Given that's where you wanted to succeed, you wanted to succeed in New York, you wanted Saratoga, you won that first title, as you said, in '67, sort of by surprise, and then it must have been. Was it incredibly difficult year upon year to sort of keep the pressure on yourself to keep the title? Was it? Did you find that quite hard?
To be honest to you, I didn't have any pressure until probably the end. To me, it was like a game. I was coming to Saratoga to play a game. Let's play the game that I win and you lose. So that was the way in my mind it was. And the more I win it, the more energy and the more confident I got on myself. It was a year when I went down in January. I didn't ride for 5 months. And I came back and the doctor told me that I could never ride again because he had to remove my splint. And I lacerated my liver like in 4 or 6 pieces. And I could not ride that much. So I started riding like in July 5th, July 6th. I rode 2 horses. And I knew when we came back to Saratoga, it was going to be tough because I could not ride the car. You want to win the rider, you got to ride the car. And he was scared at that time. And I don't know why, but I win it. But the next year, I felt real good. And I was riding a lot of good horses. And I got beat. So I didn't, if I would have got beat when I was coming from sick, I would have the excuse where I was sick. I could not ride as many horses. But the year I got beat, I didn't have any excuse. It just Mother Nature took over. Races off the turf, horses don't like the mud. Draw a blank 2 days. I never draw a blank 2 days in Saratoga. 2 days on the road, draw a blank. So that cost me. But I also came to Saratoga 2-3 winners behind the last day, and I win it. And I came in with the confidence. I never had that pressure. My pressure was after I got beat to come back and win it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to get lucky and win it twice.
And you did. And how good did that feel when you came back, having lost it, to come back and win it again? How good was that?
Like a champion that lost his crown and come back and get it. At that time, everybody was talking about me. They called me the king of Saratoga. I don't know why, but that's what they call me over here. So I started to believe on that. When I got beat, I thought, oh my God, they're going to take my throne away from me. But I came back and I got lucky. I won it 2 years back on the road, But Saratoga was, to me, my main goal all year around was that. My mind and everything, all my body energy was to, when I get back to Saratoga, that's what I was going to do. And I studied everybody, the trainer, the track, and I used to look at that track and know what part was faster and what part wasn't fast. And I, had that age that I liked it. And I got lucky too, because to do it so many times, how many times I went down in the meeting? The meeting was only 28 days racing. Mm-hmm. And I went down in a couple of years on the race, back to the hospital, escaped from the hospital, came back to ride the next day. So I really put up everything that I had to do it. I never thought that it would go that far, but I was under no pressure, Only the last year I have pressure to get my title back. That was my pressure.
Well, the jockey title is named after you, but a special relationship with Mary Lou Whitney, and she gave you the moniker King of Saratoga. Actually donned you with a crown one day. I think we have a video of that. What was the relationship like with the first lady of racing?
Well, that was a very touching moment to me, because she, when I first got to Saratoga, her husband had a lot of good horses. And, the first time I rode for them, I was like walking around with the chorus all the way in the jockeys room, so people know.
Angel Cordero, the King of Saratoga.
Yeah. That was a touching moment to me, that she was the Queen of Saratoga and calling me the King of Saratoga. To me, that was something very big time for me in my life, that big time.
She was a special lady that meant so much to racing, and you obviously meant a lot to her. She was saying in that piece how when she couldn't get you on a horse, she said, "Oh no, well we need to watch the horse that he's on." For you, obviously Saratoga, a very special place, and going back now that you're not riding, but you still have such an involvement, does it still hold that same feeling for you?
Yes, it does. It does. I feel like I wanted to do the best, but I always look back to my beginning in Saratoga, how slow it was. So now that I got the chance and the lucky streak with Johnny, he broke a lot of records in Saratoga. So now I start with Manny. So I start thinking like when I first came to this country, it's gonna be work hard and eventually go up step little by little until I get there. And I hope that he can get there before I go. You know, you never know when your time comes, but I got that feeling that if I'm alive, he's gonna get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of time, you know. You just gotta take your time. Sometimes athletes got the name and got the ability, and it's very hard to beat him because they got all the tools. So it's gonna come the time, you know, like everything settled down, and somebody else come along and hoping that is money, you know.
So every rider, you know, every young rider, every talented rider needs that special horse to take them to the next place. How special do you think Tiz the Law is? You've ridden greats, you've ridden against greats.
You know, he was very impressive when he broke his maiden here in Saratoga, and I had the opportunity to ride him with Manny. The next time he run in the Champagne and win. And I thought he was a good horse. I never thought he was that good. I thought he was a good horse. And I said, that's a good horse. And for him, I said, this is going to be something that he's going to be able to ride on some of the big races. And people will know he's riding a horse with a chance. But after he won the first time in Miami, I kind of say, man, I said, this horse is better than I thought he was. And the more time goes by, the more I admire him more. He's just getting better.
Mm-hmm.
His races are so good. It doesn't matter who you beat. Everybody say, who do you beat? You beat whoever is in there. That's all it counts. Time only count when you're in jail or when you're someplace else, but it doesn't count on racing. But some horses are good when they can do what you want them to do. When you see horses, when you ask him to run and they run, and that's what it is. It's the type of horse that whenever money asks him, he's there.
Mm-hmm.
So far, you know, Nakamura's been in there for him. And the only time that Manny put up a hard ride on it was the time he got beat because he got blocked. He was nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody think he doesn't like the inside. It wasn't that. It was one of them races that the three horses on the lead, they never spread. So he got nowhere to go all the way to the 16th pole. But the horse won big race that day. But the more he runs, I was so impressed the other day. When they got that camera from the top of the stand, looking at it from the 8-pole home, how he spread away. It reminded me of Big Brown in the Preakness did that. It reminded me of Secretaria in the Preakness. He was last going to the first 10 and he made a run like that. Horses that can make that run like that, especially at the end. He won a mile and a quarter in 2 minutes and change, but he is the last 16 to the mile.
He gave me chills
But
that
he's
day.
showing that he is the best in the group. Right now, he's the best in the group. I mean, he could be like anybody else, but he's the best in the group right now by far.
And Angel, this is an opportunity jockeys dream of, being aboard a heavy favorite in the Kentucky Derby. Manny got his first Belmont Stakes victory this year aboard Tiz the Law. What do you say to him? You've had so much experience in big races on top class horses. How do you prepare him for a moment like the Kentucky Derby, which is only a little bit over a week away?
Well, the main thing when I talk to Manny about racing, he's a good learner. This is what I always tell him. He's the best horse, and you got to think you are the best jockey. You ride him like he's the best horse, and you ride him like you're the best jockey. I said, you're gonna have problems sometimes making decisions because you're under pressure that the day you get beat, they're gonna take you off. Everybody wants them. It's like when you have a pretty girlfriend, everybody wants to take it away from you. So when you have a good horse, every single person is trying to get on him. So I told him, I said, but you put that on your mind, you get nervous. I said, think about it when you sit on it. He's the best horse, and I'm the best jockey. And I said, it's going to work. If he's the best horse and you are good, it's gonna work because a horse is like 90% of the outcome. I said, just don't get in no trouble, and you got to figure it out. When a horse is like that, it's like a bullseye. Everybody wants to get him beat. It's not jealous. It's not because they hate him. It's because he's the horse to beat.
Yeah.
And you wanted to beat him. You want to plan how I beat him, how I block him, how I do this to him. Maybe I chase him. Maybe I do this. So that's part of life. But I always tell him, I say, he's the best horse and you're the best jockey on it. Think about that. Think big. And I said, it's going to happen. And so far, it's working good. He's working pretty good. But you have to think when you ride a horse that horse is going to win because you own it. You don't tell everybody, oh, I like it because I. But that's the way you have to feel. You got to feel it's gonna work because I'm in it. Otherwise, it doesn't gonna happen.
Confidence. Mm-hmm.
Now there was almost no chance that this could be just like a private conversation between you, me, and Britney, Angel. When people knew we were getting together this evening, there was bound to be somebody who wanted to get in on the act, and I think.
My man there.
You got the shirt on.
I'm gonna be at Angel Kitchen, and it's gonna be Jonathan Cordero.
It looks like a JK shirt.
Yeah, I gotta tell.
We went to dinner, and he walked up and he said he was Angel Kitchen. I was like, okay.
Yeah, because I had the word. I tell my lady, buy me the shirt like Jonathan. I like him, man. I like him. Hey, did I have time to tell you a short story?
Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
We've got plenty of time.
Like I said before, I admire Lafitte and Georgie when I was riding with them. So one day I went to California to ride for Wayne Lucas. And after the race, Lafitte asked me, said, do you have a ride from Santa Anita to the airport? It's like 45 minutes, something like that. So I said, no, I don't have a ride. I was going to get a taxi. He said, I'll take you. So he drives me all the way to the airport. And when he's driving, I'm thinking about, man, Lafitte Pinkett driving me to the airport. I was like getting, all cheered up. So we get out of the car. I pick up my tag from the trunk. He give me a hug. He said, I'll see you next time, campeón. Champion. When he say that, seriously, that was the biggest moment to me in my life that somebody like him called me a campeón. I sat on the plane, and the plane, they call him the red eye. You leave there at 10 o'clock, you get to New York at 5. I couldn't even go to sleep thinking about, man, Lafitte called me campeón. I couldn't wait until I came back and tell all my friends, I'm a campeón. So my wife, God rest his peace, came to pick me up. And she said, honey, how you did it? He said, From now, when you address to me as a campeón. Champion. I said, none of that, honey, papi, none of that. I said, what's wrong with you? I said, no. I said, Lafitte told me campeón. And to me, when a guy, Muhammad Ali called you campeón, or Michael Jackson called you campeón, you got it. I said, to me, 3 weeks went by, I go back to California to ride. Now this time I'm riding in entry for Lucas. Lafitte's on the 1, I'm on the 1A. The race is over, we're taking the saddle away. And the little guy that carried the bucket with the sponge said, Lafitte, how about the chamois, the thing they put so the saddle doesn't slip? How about the chamois? I give it to you later, campeón. I said, wow, man. He called everybody campeón, and I thought it was only me. I went from my shirt, it was that night, I couldn't even sleep. I said, man, I'm a campeón. Then I came back, and I said, what happened? You didn't win? I said, yeah, but I'm not a campeón anymore. He called everybody campeón, so that's about it. That was the end of being the champion.
Angel, you got to tell them my favorite story that I've ever got to hear you tell, and it works good with this Tiz the Law conversation and Manny. You got to tell them about the magic saddle.
Oh, the magic saddle. Well, when I got beat on Seattle Slew that race, that they went too fast the first part, he was carrying so much weight, and they had to put the lead on the lead pad. They put leads on him to make the weight, and he was too much on one of the front packets, and I lost my stir because of that. So I came back and I told my valet, I said, we need to have a saddle bigger than that so we don't have to carry that anymore. So he sent for this saddle. It weighs 11 pounds empty and 18 pounds when you put the stuff on it. So every time I rode with 124, 126 on a big race, I used that saddle. And won the Derby and won the Breeders' Cup with it and everything. So when I retired, I told Johnny, you're very light. I said, why don't you use this saddle? He says, he's lucky for me. I win a lot of races. He tried it one time and he liked it. And Johnny won like 2 Derbys with it, 2 Belmonts. Breeders' Cup races, everything. So everybody think it's a magic saddle. I call him the magic saddle. So the other day I said to Manny, how's the magic saddle? He said, it's no more the magic saddle. Her name is Berta. I said, no kidding. I said, she have a name. And when I rode a lot of time when I was riding, the trainer would ask me, what about that saddle that you win a lot of races with it? But I can only use it when it was 124 or 126.
I have so many questions. So Johnny had it, and then did Johnny give it to Manny?
No, I give it back to me, and I lend it to Manny.
You lent it to Manny, and now it's Berta.
Berta, so I am Berta, yeah. I think I'm gonna put him for auction to see how, just for curiosity, to see how much he brings.
That's fantastic.
It would bring a hefty amount, that's for sure. But that's something you got to hold on to. It's interesting when jockeys talk about saddles. Mike Smith talks about a saddle that he got from Lafitte some time ago. Is it, I don't know, is it just the memories that go along with it? Is it, because there's something obviously to this magic saddle that brought a lot to you, to Johnny. What is it about it that people who don't ride might not understand?
Well, it's first of all, it had to be comfortable. The saddle had to be very comfortable when you sit on a horse. He sits perfect on a horse, and you don't have to put no lead pad on him. You just got to be light. Like, you cannot use it on the regular because it's too heavy, the saddle. But when you get used to it, it's like any equipment that any athlete use. You get used to it, and it feels better.
When you
it's
pass
like
it
a
on,
guy that hit a lot of homer.
when you pass it on to another jockey, though, is that kind of is that a moment in a jockey's career?
No, I don't know what Johnny. Johnny's like my son. I've known Johnny for 30 years. So when he came to ride to the United States and started to do good, and I wasn't going to ride anymore, I figured, he could use it because he's light. But I never thought that the saddle was going to get that much name, that much recognition, and all of a sudden everybody asked for it. The magic saddle, best nose of
Angel, you got to tell the PG version, the kid version of the Leroy Jolly story. You don't have to edit it a little bit. That's one of my favorite stories too. And I'm gonna hang up and listen. You guys have fun.
Okay, see you later.
He's off.
I rode a horse for Mr. Jolly one time in Atlantic City, and I rode a horse like 3 times, big races, and he had won. So the horse didn't run like 2 or 3 months, and he used to be a come from behind horse, a horse called London Company. So when we went to the paddock, he said to me, well, first of all, he said, could you come and ride this horse? We pick you up on the private plane, Mr. Firestone private plane. So we left from Belmont. I got like, slippers and short and a t-shirt and the back to ride the horse, equipment. I don't have no license, no money, no nothing. I was going to go on the private plane. They were going to drive me to the track and drive me back to the same place. So the race went run. It was like they was walking in the race. It rained like the morning, and they was going too slow. They was going like quarter in 26, half a mile in 52, and he got rank on me, and he just took off from me and he started go to the lead, and he hooked another horse from the 3/8 pole, a horse called Hello, and the other horse was better than him. I knew that, but I was riding so hard trying to beat him, and I got beat like a little nose. And I came back, and Mr. Jolly was upset. He called me all kind of names. He reminded me of my color. He told me I should go back to my country. Who told you that you were so good and all that? And the more, we was walking from the track, when you take the saddle all the way to the jockey's room, and the public was like, booing, and he was just after me so hard. So when I got to the door of the jockey's room, I figured, well, I'm almost in the jockey's room. I give him a bad work, and I call him gringo because he called me stupid Puerto Rican. So I was real upset. So I went to the shower, and then Walter Blum gave me a ride to the private airport. When I got there, I don't see no plane there. So I said to the guy, what about the plane that was there, that red plane that was there? He goes, oh, they left 10 minutes ago. I said, are you sure? He said, yeah. He said, it was a guy with a red face, and it was another guy looked like a jockey too, and they left. And I came back, and I said to him, I don't know how I'm going to get home. Man. I don't have no money. I don't have no idea. So he said, I'll drive you. So he drove me back. So 5 years later, we used to go to Meadowlands to ride almost every night. So we got a helicopter. Five of us put up money and we rented a helicopter to go after the races in Belmont to Meadowlands. And Leroy asked Jacinto Vasquez that if he could go on the plane. I didn't know. Jacinto said, yeah, you could come back with us. So when we got there, the race is over. We run into the helicopter. I said to the guy, let's go. He said, no, we're waiting for somebody. I said, who? They were waiting for Mr. Jolly. So I pulled up $20. I said to the guy, here, $20. Let's go. He's not coming. So he started the helicopter, and the helicopter is going up. And Jacinto said, hey, he's down there. Look, I said, no, that's not him. That's not him. So the guy said, I'm going to have to go down again and get it. So when he walked in the helicopter, Jacinto said, you know, he was trying to leave you here because he's trying to get even. You don't say anything. I don't say anything either. I just looked at it because he was trying to get even, man. That's weird when you go like that and then you have no money to come back, you know.
Oh my! These stories for days.
Part of life. Part of life. Yeah.
I love it. We've had so many people send in questions for you. It's almost, and I apologize for everybody that has sent in questions because there's no way we could possibly
give it to me.
all of them. But I wanted to ask a little bit about, you mentioned how John Velasquez is family. He's like your son. I want to say my question first, because obviously you're no longer his agent. You now have Manny Franco, but how tight have you two remained, and how proud are you of a career that you've helped him build?
Well, I'm very proud of him. I'm proud of him like he's one of my sons. I always dreamed to have a son that was a jockey. I never have 5 kids, and none of them like horses, to make it worse. And I got a daughter that likes jumpers, but that's about it. But that was my dream always to have, because my mother didn't want me to be a jockey, and I had to hide it all the time. And I always said, if I have a kid and he had the weight, I wanted to be a jockey. And I tried it so hard. But my last kid was, the doctor said he was on the 95 average, that he was going to be big. So that was my only hope. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him for all the accomplishments that he had done. And I'm proud of him the way he conducts himself, you know, in the public and with the people, and he's a good family man. He's got all the good quality, you know, that anybody could have. Getting fired had nothing to do with the real life. You know, you get fired from any official that you got. That's part of life. But what you got inside of you doesn't going to go because of that, you know. Love doesn't go away because one of my kids do something wrong to me. You know, they don't a lot of times, but you know they don't mean to. But that does no. I'm just putting on my faith and hoping that Manny can come and do the same before he fire me. That's all. Fighting against the time, you know.
Well said. Love remains.
MJ says, Angel, write a book with all the stories and memories. You may already have done that, but is there another book in you?
Another book? I don't know. I think if I write a book with all my story, my real story, people are going to hate me. So I better don't say anything.
Well, based off of what we've seen tonight, quite the opposite.
I don't believe a word of it. Randy Carter says, hi, Angel. How did it feel to be the first Puerto Rican to be inducted into the United States Racing Hall of Fame?
That was big too to me. That was very big. It was, you know, like I said, you start a little dreaming about winning a race, then dreaming about being leading rider, then win the Derby, and then you get greedy. You can want it more and more. I said, that would be fine if I ever make it to the Hall of Fame. My friend used to laugh all the time at me. They put you on the Hall of Fame. By the way, you never know. I said, they got to put a lot of people. Maybe they got a little room for me there one day. And it's just something that, you know, not much for me, but for my family, you know, because whatever the plaque say, I know where I born, where I come from, you know, most of the accomplishments that I did. But it's for them that when I'm gone, they can, you know, be proud of something that I did. And I did it the hard way. I didn't have any help. Not like now, when they come from there, always somebody help. And Johnny is one of the guys that helps. When them kids come from Puerto Rico, they don't have no helmet, no vest, nothing. He gives them to them. He buys them to them. and he goes to school and he pours something in there, and he doesn't make it public. He does it because he wants to do it from his heart. So that's a beautiful thing to know, that somebody's gonna accomplish something that you dream on your life, and it doesn't gonna have the hard time. You don't have to sleep on car and miss meal and everything. I ate ham and egg for a month because that's all I knew how to say. Every time I went to the kitchen, ham and egg, ham and egg. Didn't know how to say anything else. So now then kids come here, and the doors are open for them. They got a jockey school that helps them a lot. And they become famous, and that make you proud. You look at the standing and you see the two of these brothers, Franco, Cancel, Johnny, they're all from Puerto Rico. So that make you feel good. That, because before Panama was the country that have all the good riders. It was the only racer with a jockey school. So when them guys came here to the United States to ride, they were very, very well polished,
Angel, this might be a loaded question, and there's probably plenty of different memories that would come to mind. But you said you did it the hard way, and you've had an incredible career, so many accolades and achievements to look back on. But for you, do you have a moment that you're most proud of in your career?
I don't know. So many good things that happened when I was riding, and so many bad things too. I don't know. I really don't know. I guess, I probably will say winning 14 titles in Saratoga probably will top everything else, because the time and the effort put into, 20 days or 1 month only to make it. So
where you started.
That probably I would be proud of it, I mean, proud to win the Derby and the Belmont and all that, but to do that to me probably would be something that's the one that I probably more proud of it.
Nick, I could listen to stories all day long.
Me too. We got to the end of week 19, Angel, and they said you've got 1 week left. And I'm thinking, well, we've had all these great guests, and we just said, look, see if you can come up with somebody half decent, and then I get a message saying, Angel Cordero, I thought they were pulling my leg, and here you are for a whole hour and a half. Thank you so much for your time,
I'm proud to be here with you guys. Man. I'm proud to be here with you guys.
And
the guy that contacted me, Peter. I met him, and Peter has been nice to me since day one that I met him. And when he asked me to do that, I didn't even hesitate. I was just having problem with it, to get him in the telephone, or to get him. I don't know how to work. My daughter came in last night and helped me to do it.
Do you know what? Peter has that uncanny knack of being able to get people to do things for him, and I just don't know how he does it, Angel. But he's managed to get us all. He's managed to get us
good
all
to people.
He's a good man. He's the best.
Very good to people. You know how I met him one time? I went to one of the. I didn't even know who it was. I went to a party that they had the day before the Breeders' Cup, and in Kentucky, I think it was. I was with my daughter, and we had seats way back. And he saw me walking, and he said, "Where you sitting?" And I pointed to him and I said, "Come with me." And he brought me back and sit me right in front of the stage. And my daughter said, "Daddy, who's that guy? He got power. Look at what you got." I said, "I don't know who it is." I said, "But I got to find out." Because I was nice, man. I was sitting in front row there. I have a big shot. I said, man, I came from the claiming to a state, to the Grade 1 race. That's how I met him. And he's always been nice. He's nice to everybody. That's why, he's a very likable person. I like him a lot. He's a good guy.
Going straight to Pete's head. He deserves all the nice words.
It's impossible now. You don't know what you've done. Angel, thank you so much for being with us this evening. It's been a real pleasure, and your wisdom and your generosity and your kindness to everyone in the sport is an example to all of us. So thank you so much, and thanks for sharing so many great memories as well.
It was a pleasure. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Take care.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoyed it. Angel, thank you so much. An absolute legend of the game. And fun fact, Nick Luck, Angel Cordero quite good at karaoke.
Yeah, of course. I think the last time I was chatting with Angel was in that karaoke bar in Gulf Stream Park about 18 months ago.
Yep, that was an epic night. I think I fangirled. It was after, was it Pegasus weekend?
It was before. Luckily, it was before Pegasus.
It was before Pegasus, but I met Angel officially for the first time after the Pegasus, maybe the year prior, and I completely fangirled out and did the, hey, can I take a selfie with you? Yeah, still have it.
I'm missing karaoke too. I gotta say, that's one thing. I don't know if that's ever gonna work its way back into culture after all of this. I hope it does, but I'm a fan as well. No.
I have a terrible voice. It was so hard. Like, they really tried to get me up there. Anyways, let's make a drink. Enough about my bad voice.
Absolutely. So, guys, I didn't get a chance to mention before, but I actually spent this past weekend with my wife and kids in Boston, which was a lot of fun. They're doing pretty well with the virus.
Who actually does exist?
What's that, Nick?
Your wife who actually does exist.
She does actually exist. I still can't prove it to you. I'm not going to show any photos or anything, but you got to take my word for it. It was a fantastic weekend. The people were very gracious. The food was fantastic. And of course, for a history buff like me, there's so much great history there dating back to before the Revolutionary War. So, we saw the start of Paul Revere's Midnight Ride. We saw where the Boston Tea Party took place. At one point, I actually geeked out on a tour bus because the guy stopped and he said, this is where Frederick Tudor basically sent his first shipment of ice when he started the ice trade. And I raised my hand. I was like, I know all about him. And he's like, why? Because you were coming to Boston, you looked him up. And I said, no, I'm just a geeky bartender. So that was my one little chance to shine on that. But going to Boston, the first thing I had to do was look up if they had a unique cocktail for that area. And they do. It's called the Ward 8. It's named after a particular district in Boston that was actually very, very influential and responsible for the election of a late 19th century official, Martin LeMasney, I believe was his name, and he was getting a seat in legislature. So when he was elected, people wanted to celebrate, and so they came up with this cocktail and named it after that district, the Ward 8. So it's traditionally a combination of rye whiskey, lemon juice, orange juice, and grenadine. Now, just like our sour apple pucker and the apple martini, when you hear grenadine, yes, it works well in Shirley Temples, but that commercial version that we get is very syrupy. It has that artificial cherry flavor to it. And the truth is, that's not even very reflective, I guess, of what grenadine should be. So grenadine is actually a pomegranate syrup. So that name grenadine comes from the French word for pomegranate, which is grenade. And that's spelled like grenade, which ironically is actually where the weapon itself probably got its name, because the grenade looks somewhat like the fruit, the pomegranate. So a little bit of crazy history there for you. So if you use homemade grenadine, which is a lot easier.
You're not going to pull your pin out, are you, Mark?
No. I was only metaphorically speaking in my demo. Hopefully I don't explode anything here, but I'm going to try to stay on track. But so I thought it'd be really fun today. A lot of the demos that I've done so far, we're muddling things to get the flavors kind of a la minute. But so much of what we do as bartenders is make syrups ahead of time. And I know that seems a little daunting, but a lot of it is very easy. So the first thing that we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you about a minute-long video of me making some homemade grenadine at home, which is essentially pomegranate juice and sugar. And I'm just going to talk over it and sort of walk you through the steps. So we're going to try to end this season on a high note here. Let's see if this looks any good. Here we go. Hanging in there. Our producers are awesome. I sent them the video probably like 2 hours ago. So
they are the best.
They are. But so okay.
Even Angel Cordero are the best.
Yeah. So as we get that working, I'll kind of start the demo. Whenever we get the video working, I'll show you those steps on how to make the grenadine. We'll see. So we're going to start, guys. We're going to need some lemon juice, orange juice, our homemade grenadine, which hopefully you will get to see how to make, and then our Maker's Mark bourbon. So let's go ahead and begin with our fresh lemon juice. We're going to do a ½ ounce. All right. This cocktail is very simple. And again, this is the fun thing about bartending. Here we go. So guys, this is our homemade grenadine. You're going to see what we need here. We're going to need, 1 cup pomegranate juice. So pom is perfectly fine to use. We're going to need 1 cup of sugar. And now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and pour that pomegranate juice directly into a saucepan. And the next thing we're going to do is add some sugar. So guys, this is like making simple syrup. The only difference is that we're using the pomegranate juice instead of water. You're going to stir that together over a low to medium flame just until it all dissolves, and then let it cool. And once it's cold, we're going to go ahead and funnel it into a clean bottle. All right. And now we're going to cap that off. So this is super simple. Make sure you label and date it and keep it in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. See how easy that was? But I think we do actually have some credits up here. I do have to thank my wife, of course, who was the camerawoman on this. Britney Eurton, the on-air talent. Peter and Shona Rotundo, director of media relations. Caitlin and Jordan, producer. And, of course, the man in the garage, Nick Luck.
Oh, my word. And I didn't even... garage.
The man in the garage.
The man in the garage. That would have been the worst part. Yeah, that would have been the worst part. If that video didn't work, I would be so upset that I couldn't get that joke in on Nick. But
bless you.
All right, guys. So you see, some of these ingredients sound daunting, but they're very easy. If you know how to make simple syrup, you basically can make homemade grenadine. You're just using the pomegranate juice instead of the water. This is a great ingredient for tiki cocktails, tropical cocktails, as you see in this case, some classic whiskey cocktails as well. So hopefully it sort of demystifies that a little bit. So we've got our ½ ounce of lemon juice we did before. We're going to go ahead and do a ½ ounce of fresh orange juice as well.
That's a great horse name too, Demystify.
That's actually really cool.
That
could be a great one.
There's no
See, we're catching up a little bit right now. I think we're getting some good names in this 20th episode here. All right, guys, and ½ ounce of our homemade grenadine. All right.
So you've got orange, lemon, grenadine.
Yep, and then whiskey. It's a 4-ingredient cocktail, and you'll see a lot of these Prohibition era or even pre-Prohibition era cocktails are very, very simple. You know, it's kind of before people felt like they had to reinvent the wheel. They were just coming up with these unique combinations of ingredients. Perhaps grenadine was somewhat new at the time. So right now we see it as kind of like old hack. You know, we've used that forever. But for them, that was a new kind of tool in their toolbox. So that's the beauty of these older cocktails is they're actually very, very simple. It's just about kind of getting those ratios and understanding the basic techniques, which I'd say all of our viewers at this point, if you've watched from the first episode, you guys are practically pros. I've seen the pictures on social media. You guys are doing fantastic. So guys, let's do 1.5 ounces of Maker's Mark bourbon. Sorry, 2 ounces. Let's do 2 ounces.
No, Timothy Ross,
Corey Booth, season finale, 2.5.
Right?
Diane Leibovitz, Jeff Hall, Sheila Ransom, Julie Engel. They're all pros, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Dickinsons, I say it every week. I didn't even get a chance to check, but I know they sent me their cocktails today. They've been fantastic. But really, so many people, your parents, Brittany, they've been amazing. Hopefully your dad was able to make some of the cocktails from last week after the show. Did he give it a go?
Oh, I should have taken a photo of it. He had a notepad. He was actually taking notes.
Oh my goodness. They're awesome. They're awesome. All right. So we're going to give this a good shake. I know we did all of the stats earlier, so I don't know. We'll just wing this one.
Sometimes you just have to sit back, relax, watch the master at work.
Embrace the shake.
Embrace the shake. Hey, that's a good one too, actually.
Embrace the shake.
Embrace the shake. There we go.
Well, Suzanne tells me there's no U.S. Demystify, just one 95 Australian thoroughbred.
Yeah.
Available.
All right. All right, guys. Now we're going to go ahead and double strain this or fine strain it into a chilled cocktail glass. You could do a martini glass, or I like a coupe glass. For a lot of those sort of pre-Prohibition drinks, it looks really, really beautiful. Yeah, it's a nice color. This cocktail is fantastic, and this is one thing I love is that I can still learn these drinks. You know, I never feel like I know everything because there's always something lying out there that I haven't heard of before. In this case, it was a trip to Boston that maybe even check into it. But apparently, this is sort of a bartender favorite now for mixologists as well. So, guys, for garnish, let's go kind of cheesy classic, little maraschino cherry here. Why not? And that is our Ward 8 cocktail. Now you know how to make grenadine at home. We're going to try to implement some more stuff like that, especially when we come back in the fall, get you up to speed on all these different syrups that we do behind a professional bar. But cheers, guys.
Perfect. Cheers.
Always a pleasure. Cheers.
Dream big and get big drunk.
I feel that the first kind of half of the book is written. Actually, maybe first 2/3 of the book is written. This is going to be the shortest intermission ever. But this is the official end of season 1. I believe that season 2 premieres in just 2 weeks' time? Or is it 3 weeks' time?
I thought this was season 2 because we had our first break, or are we just saying that was our mid-season finale?
That was the mid-season.
Actually,
It'd be great if we started releasing teasers like tonight for season 2. Not like we have any, but
yeah, exactly. Season 2, of course, will take place after the running of the Kentucky Derby, Brittany. So it'll just be, I think, you and a few jockeys, and that's about the lot at Churchill Downs.
There will not be many people there, but at least we'll get to bring it to you on NBC. So looking forward to that. It's a strange year, but we're running, and we're grateful that these horses are able to get out there and strut their stuff. And so I will fly out on Wednesday and bring it to you on Friday and Saturday.
Awesome. Cannot wait. I can't wait to watch it. And I think it'll be watched by, even more people than normal, because everyone's craving a huge sporting event, even if there's nobody there.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And they're unveiling the brand new Kentucky Derby starting gate, which is for 20 horses. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So
not before time as well, I might say.
And there are, so many incredible stories this year. So I will highlight all of those because no shortage of great horses and people to root for.
What happens if your dad actually wins the Derby? I mean,
what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, presumably they'll have to locate the nearest cardiac team to come and sort you out.
I wasn't necessarily going to allow myself to dream that big, but after what Angel Cordero had to say, I think I'm just going to keep shooting for the moon, hope I land amongst the stars, and continue to
get big drunk.
And get big.
Yeah.
For the show.
You're not allowed to get big drunk without us. You should know that.
No. Yeah, so we will have a FaceTime afterwards because I'll be celebrating a B-Day as well. So.
Oh, awesome.
I'll need some sort of birthday cocktail from you, Mark.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna start dreaming it up now. I got you.
You were celebrating a bit of 1970s bathroom porcelain, but then I realized you meant birthday. Right. Yes, I was there in the end. Right. How do we celebrate / commemorate 20 editions of Cocktails and Conversation? Perhaps with one of our favorite moments from the series. Shall we take a look at Britney?
The face.
Oh, you got to do sound on for this. Oh. Hats off to Jamie Osborne for bringing this to our attention because we were trying to raise money for a great cause and do it for Dan. And I don't know why it was a raw egg that we all needed to drink. Oh, that was, I'll be honest, in the moment, it wasn't that bad. It was afterwards that I got in my head a little bit and I'm like, that was not delightful. But thank you, Jamie, for that. That was it. It's hard to figure out when you look back what your favorite show was because there's been so many moments where we saw, a lot of our guests and just this relaxed atmosphere and shared stories with us that I don't think we ever really could have gotten in a different atmosphere. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, this was a fitting way to conclude. We've had some wonderful guests, some all-stars, jockeys, trainers, owners, breeders, sports stars, movie stars. Everybody from March onwards. We'll be back in 3 weeks' time, right after the Derby, to do it all again. But thank you very much for your support. I hope you'll enjoy it into the fall as well, right up to Breeders' Cup. And we've got something quite special planned for Breeders' Cup week as well, which we're keeping under wraps for the time being. But from Mark and from Brittany, I'm going to say au revoir to you guys. And I'm going to say au revoir to you as well. Wherever you are in the world, we will see you next season. Good night.